Welcome to the Unbound Writers Club.
Thank you very much.
I really feel actually as if you're being like initiated into the Unbound Writers Club at the moment.
Yes.
Without maybe kind of knowing, or maybe you weren't knowing what to expect when you said yes to this collaborative book project, but we'll get into that.
I had no idea, but I think it's like anything, you have no idea what it really is that you're doing, and we're all making it up as we go along.
Exactly.
Because it's all made up. All of life is made up. And the thing is, it's the same when you think decide to start a family and you think you know what that is. You have no idea what you're letting yourself in for. You have no clue. And people will think, oh well, I've done an all-nighter, I've done a I've been tired. You have no idea what is coming. No, honestly, you have no clue. And it's the same with business, isn't it?
Yeah.
And apparently with writing books.
Exactly. Who knew? Any kind of creation. And we're going to get into that very shortly, but I always start these episodes with the same question, which is, what does it mean to you to be an unbound writer? So I'm really interested to hear what you've got to say about that right now.
Oh, that's interesting. What does it mean to me to be an unbound writer? Well, the first word that comes into my head is freedom. Is freedom from the past, freedom from expectation, but it is freedom. That's the word that immediately popped into my head. Yeah.
So when we first connected, and freedom, yeah, absolutely, that kind of flows through. That's the essence of Unbound for me as well. So I love that you said that. And I want to go back to when we first connected and you got in touch and you were like, I'm thinking about kind of writing, creating this book, and I'd like to have a chat. And I know you'd been thinking about like, maybe I write a book myself, but this idea of a collaboration had been coming through for you very strongly.
Yeah.
And, where did that come from? Do you know where that idea came from?
I think it's a couple of things. Initially, I think it's partly because I thought it would be easier. I thought it would be easier. Yeah. And going back to parenting and birth analogies, what just popped into my head was, well, maybe it's like giving birth to one child versus twins.
Oh.
But neither's easy. So I don't know. But anyway, that's just what popped into my head, so I thought I'd say it. So that was the initial thing, that I thought it would be easier and quicker.
Yeah.
And quicker, and would remove some of the barrier for me maybe of writing a whole book, like the whole time issue. And often I think time and money are often barriers to doing things.
Yeah.
And the time investment and the financial investment are often barriers. And so I thought, oh, well, this is a way where the cost could be shared between a group of people. We would all get a lot out of it. It would be a journeying together. And also, I suppose one of the things in my previous life, I'm a coach now, a legacy life coach is what I call myself. So I really support people to create the life that they want, through, I work with around family and family dynamics and also business. But years ago, I originally trained as an actor, professional actor. And one of the things that I loved, the form of creation in terms of acting that I absolutely loved, was creating a play basically from nothing. So a group of people would come together.
Yeah. You
would know what kind of have a title or know what you're going to be collaborating around, and then we would create. So it was devised theatre, it's called. And I absolutely loved it. I love devising. I love that magic that happens. Yeah. And that you start off without anything really, and you end up with this incredible piece of theatre. And so I suppose for me, it keyed me back into this notion of collaboration, of and I think that was in the background. I think in the foreground for me was, it'll be quicker, easier, those things. And then I kind of stepped more into, actually, it's calling me back home. Yeah. I feel that's hit something. I feel really moved. That's calling me back home to an aspect of myself that I've been forgotten, I think maybe, or I haven't been letting out to play. Yeah,
I can feel that as well. As you were saying that about being called back home, I kind of feel that's what's happening collectively at the moment as well. Like individually, but also collectively, we're being called back home to be in this energy of collaboration, co-creation, like community, recognizing we don't have to do it all on our own. And when you were talking about that in terms of the theatre and devised theatre, it's like, and you spoke about the word magic, which I my voice is going now, which I know we both kind of speak quite a lot about magic, and it's that magic that happens when people come together, and it's indefinable, and you don't know what's going to happen when everyone comes together. There's like this alchemy, and
it is alchemy. That is it. It is alchemy.
Yeah. And like we said, like you said, and I just said, we don't know what's going to happen, like when people come together in that way. And that has been the experience so far with this collaborative book project, because we were like, at the beginning, like, okay, this is the plan, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it over this time scale, invite people to be part of it, and it is going to happen very quickly. And then it hasn't unfolded like that. It's like the book wanted something different. So what's your experience been like over the past few weeks as we've been in this?
Well, I won't lie, it's been massively challenging. It really brought up I think, and I think this happens, right, when we have an idea and we have a plan and we go, right, so I'm going to do this and it's going to go like this, and when it doesn't go to plan and our expectations are thwarted, we get triggered, right? It brings up our stuff.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened, and whilst I was in that place of feeling triggered, in that place of self-doubt, of wondering, is this actually something I still want to do? And all of this stuff came up, right? And while I was in all of that, I was disconnected from the alchemy of the book. I was disconnected from the spirit of the book. I was disconnected. I was just disconnected. That is it. That is it. From my power, from, yeah. And so I couldn't even see what was right in front of my face. And this is the thing, we, you know, when we're stuck in, you know, that space of when we're triggered, or, you know, all our limiting beliefs are like hitting us in the face, right? Slapping us around. When that's happening, you know, we can't even see what's right in front of us. We can't, you know, it's hidden from our view. It's in our blind spot.
Yeah.
Because we're so, those limiting beliefs and those old automatic programs are running the show.
Mm-hmm.
And when we step out of our comfort zone, when we step out into doing something different, something that is unknown, you know, to keep ourselves safe, we want to just go retreat and go back. We want to, you know, there's a part of us that just wants to keep ourselves safe and keep things known. But the magic and the alchemy happens in the unknown, in that space.
Yeah.
So it is a yeah, it's a process, for sure.
It really is. And the very nature of it as well, I was thinking as you were speaking there, Sarah, it's one that kind of happens in public, because you're inviting other people into the process, you know, and you're like, come and be part of this. Like if you're writing a book on your own or creating something on your own, you can have a plan and maybe things don't work out in the way that you expect, but it doesn't matter because no one else kind of can see.
Nobody knows about it. That's it. Yeah.
But when you're saying to people, right, okay, like this is what I'm doing, I'd love you to be part of it, and we're going to do it like this, and then it doesn't quite happen like that. There's that vulnerability of like, oh, like people are seeing behind the curtain, they're seeing behind the scenes, they're seeing the messy, and that can feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's massively triggering. And the interesting thing for me as the instigator of this, is it's my messy everybody sees, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody else can go, yeah, I'll be part of it, but they don't have to be exposed in the same way if they don't want to be. They don't.
Yeah.
You know, and so in some ways they, you know, I think they get such a lot of from going through that, the process and being part of it, and you know, everything that's involved with the support and the, you know, once it's written and we get into the sharing it out in the world, all of that, it's only in at that point, I think, when the other collaborators will be at that point where they need to where they will feel more exposed, because they'll be sharing it in the world, right? Because it'll be created, and it'll be at that point where they might feel more exposed, because it's launch time. It's the time when you say, actually, I'm in a book, and it's you know, so it's interesting. And I suppose I haven't fully kind of thought about why is this, why am I finding it, you know, so challenging, but it is massively exposing for me as the instigator of it. But it's interesting because what I talk about and what I have talked about, you know, in lives and things like that, is that when we have an idea, when you want to do something, you have a goal, you have a desire to manifest something in the world, you have the desire, tell the world, and then figure it out. Because actually when you do that telling the world piece holds you accountable, and it helps you keep going when things get tough, because you've told the world, and you have that aspect of, well, I've said I'd do this, so I'm gonna do it now. You know, you have that aspect of it. But when my husband and I really decided that we wanted a certain type of education for our children, with no idea how it was going to happen, that's what we did. We had the desire and we kept speaking about it. We literally spoke it into existence. We spoke our moving from England to Scotland into existence. We, you know, and in the face of it, you know, that was challenging at times, because we chose to send our children to a Steiner school, which is an alternative to mainstream education, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when our eldest was at that going to school age time, you've got people constantly asking you, which school are they going to go to? So they'll be starting school right now, or you have that constantly.
Yeah.
The same as when you are pregnant and you're waiting to give birth, you constantly have people asking you when the baby's due, have you decided on a name, and did you find out the sex of your baby? Those 3 questions you get asked over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? And so, yeah, with that, we were constantly speaking that into existence without saying, well, actually, no, she's not going to go to the local school. And, you know, our plan is for her to have to go to a Steiner school. Right now, we don't know where that's going to be. Right now, you know, we're still working it out, you know. And that's, that's, and I think people think you're brave when you do that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I seem to do things that people say that you're brave for, like, you know, I knew I wanted to give birth at home, for instance. Constantly people telling me, oh, you're so brave, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that having a desire,
Yeah,
telling the world,
yeah,
or owning that in the world when, you know, when it's comes up in conversation or whatever, and then figuring it out as you go along and being willing to be in the mess of that, I think.
yeah, absolutely,
You know?
absolutely. Which, you know, I so honor you for doing, because I know how challenging it is. And one of the things I say is, like, the unbound woman or the unbound one goes first. Like, you have to be willing to go first. Like, you take that step, you make that declaration, and then, you know, you are following those breadcrumbs of inspiration. You know, you find your way from that point, but somebody has to go first. Otherwise nothing ever changes. And I love that you've been willing to do it with this project. You know, to put your hand up and say, look, I'm doing this. And what we noticed is, you know, a lot of people are like, they want to know the details. It's like, well, you know, how is this going to work? When is it going to happen? You know, like all of the nitty-gritty details, which I completely get. And we're kind of conditioned to, you know, you don't start anything until you've got a really clear plan, and you need to have it all mapped out. But the very nature of it.
You know what? We had that.
Well, we did, but yeah.
We had that, and the book went, no, it's not going to happen like that, actually.
Yeah.
So, do you know, but this is the thing, we are conditioned, right? To do it that way. And one of the reasons that I talk about legacy, this book is about legacy, right? It's about doing things differently. It's about, one of the things I know that it's about is getting a message out there that helps people connect with that there are different paths to transformation, that helps people connect with and be inspired to live life the way they want to live on their terms, and that there's, you know, through the inspiring stories of the people who've written the chapters in the book, that they get inspiration, they get ideas from people from these different walks of life. And for me, one of the things that has been coming through for about a year now, just under a year probably, when I was thinking about what my purpose is. And I think legacy is so connected to purpose. You know, our legacy comes from our purpose. It is, I suppose it's a manifestation of our purpose and how we chose, the choices we made, the decisions we made, how we chose to live our lives, the values that we hold. It's all of that. And what was coming through for me was to help to create a legacy of feminine social change, right? Through the work that I do. And why? Well, why is because I want our children to grow up in a world where feminine and masculine qualities are equally valued. We do not live in that world right now. And so that is something that comes through, and part of this feminine for me, so it's about balance. I've been seeing the number 69 for months. When I first started seeing it, you know, I had a bit of a giggle, and also but also I was like, I'm seeing 69 like everywhere, and it is that yin and yang, right? It is that thing that the masculine and feminine qualities balance. It's that sense of balance. And so I had been focusing on really empowering women, which I think is needed to have more balance, because we live in a patriarchal world, and we're so out of balance. We're so our world is so male dominated and male centric that, you know, that needs to be addressed. And you know, within this book, I'm really clear that it's a book with male voices and female voices in the book, for that reason, because it is this balance that we need both. We need both in our world, so both needs to be in the book, and it is in the book. So I'm really excited to. I've got some lovely collaborators already. But yeah, I started kind of sharing about that because well, yeah, I think it's an important part of the book in terms of the spirit of it.
Yes.
Because for me, I think one of the things I've always struggled with is trusting my intuition, trusting that the more feminine parts of myself, those feminine qualities. Because of course, in the world, you know, mostly that's not valued, right? And is weak and and all the rest of it. And strategy is heralded above intuition, above. So it's not surprising that the book went, no, you've gone into the strategy, you've made your feminine parts wrong.
Yeah.
You know, by trying to do it in this bish bash bosh masculine way. It's not going to go that way. This book is not about that. So it really asserted itself quite strongly and went, no, it's not going to happen like that.
Yeah.
And I suppose I was calling it a collaborative book, but I wasn't at that point collaborating so much. I was collaborating in terms of people writing the chapters and going through the writing process together, but I wasn't, you know, collaborating in terms of people calling others into the collaboration and things like that. So I'm sort of feeling my way through what it looks like, what the collaboration actually looks like.
Exactly. And collaborating with the book, you know, the book, for the book to be part of it.
Yes.
Which, you know, is something that I encourage when people are writing their own book. You know, it's something, it's always a starting place. And it's interesting because I was saying to you, we were having this conversation, it's like, I hadn't even thought about it in terms of this book, which is so strange how sometimes we can switch, we kind of forget things when we're working in a different way. And it's like, no, come back to like come back to your core, come back to like how, you know, what's important to you, come back to your values. And I really feel this book is calling like us and everyone who's going to be involved to really embody that quality of collaboration and that spirit of co-creation. And also the soul-led piece, which is another conversation that we've had. Like, I think we both know if anything is soul-led, it's not very often like really neat and tidy and straightforward.
Yeah, I didn't kind of think about that bit.
Yeah.
But no, but yeah, it is because it requires connecting energetically. It requires connecting energetically. And this is what shifted when I came out of that being triggered piece and the, oh my gosh, I can't do it, and maybe I won't do it at all, and all that place. And when I worked through that and I felt those feelings and I allowed them to move through and took some space for that actually as well. And then when I got realigned with myself, with the book, and what I did was connected with the spirit of the book. And I connected with the spirit and the energies of the collaborators, right? Of the people. And remember that, you know, when we have a desire, when we want to create something, the decision to create it, the decision to do it, once we decide to do it, it is done. It is done. And then we're just waiting for the physical manifestation of that. You know, it's already created. The people are already gathered. I'm just waiting to see exactly who they are. Like if you think of time as not being linear, you know, and the book's written, it's done, it's out in the world, right?
Exactly.
So and so having the courage to keep open and connecting and listening. You know, I talk a lot about listening in the parenting work that I do. That's the foundation for all the work I do around that is this sense of listening. And and this is it too. It's that openness. And I don't just mean listening with your ears. It's listening is an energetic thing. It's an openness. And this has been the big thing with my parenting work as well, that when I talk about listening, it's about being wholly present and energetically open. That kind of listening.
I love that there's so many there's so much alignment between the parenting work you do and also this process. It's so interesting. And that trust, I think, is like trusting, like listening and trusting.
The trust is just massive, isn't it?
It is.
The trust is massive. You know, trusting that it'll work out, trusting it'll all be okay, trusting that you know, it's meant to be the way it's meant to be, and its unfolding is beautiful and challenging and all those things. But you know, once I got out of that triggered place, I could then see what has happened so far in this collaboration, which is people have gotten like I've invited people to take a look, right? To see if this is going to be in alignment with them, to see if like writing a book about their legacy, their purpose, their mission and their vision in life, and the impact that can have by telling their story in this way. Like by inviting people to take a look at that, it has sparked for them. Like some people have gone, yes, oh my gosh, that's amazing, that's so in alignment, right? Some people have gone, yes, that's amazing, it's in alignment. and then something has got in the way, like I haven't got the money, or I haven't got the time, or I don't think I'm good enough. They got triggered as well. I got triggered, they got triggered, everybody got triggered.
Everyone's getting triggered.
Yeah, it's like, it will trigger stuff in people. And then they've made a decision, whatever decision they've made, right? For some people, they've gone, actually, this is not in alignment with how I want to get my message out in the world. So they've had that clarity. They've got that clarity on, actually, I want to write my own book. I don't want to be part of a collaboration. Or actually, I don't want to write a book at all, or, whatever it is, but it's given that clarity in just simply by engaging with the question, like, are you interested in being part of a collaborative book, right? About legacy. That has, it is already having an impact. This book has already had an impact. And one of the people who engaged with it, she realized that she didn't want to share about her legacy, or didn't feel like this book was a fit, but that she wanted to do her own book collaboration. And so it has been the catalyst for a whole nother book. I mean, if that is not alchemy, I don't know what is. I mean, that's just magic, right?
It blows my mind. It really does. Like what it's activated already.
Yeah. And I love that word that you just said, activation. It is an activation. This is an activation for whoever comes into contact with it, whether they choose to be part of it or not. It can activate and be a catalyst for something amazing in your life.
Oh, amazing.
I know, they're tingles, right? No, isn't that, I mean, it is phenomenal. And so when I remember that truth, right?
Yes.
I got disconnected from that when I was in my I'm not good enough and it's not good enough. I went into with that lady who's hosting her own book collaboration. I went to, my book's not good enough. She doesn't want me, and I'm not good enough. And maybe I shouldn't do it. And, oh my gosh, you're missing the point, Sarah. Yeah. Missing the alchemy, because I'm stuck in my own head and my own worry and my own, I won't swear, in my own stuff, right? I'm in the quagmire. And I'm sure you know what word I would have used instead of quagmire.
Absolutely.
In the mess of it. But once I came out the other side of that, I could see actually what has been activated. And when I was in the mess of it, and when I was being, feeling all triggered and all the rest of it, I couldn't see the good that has come from it already. I couldn't see what had been activated.
I think when we expect things to look a particular way, like if it doesn't look like that, we just make it all wrong. And
it's like, you make it wrong.
There is
it's
so
a failure,
much.
And all of that.
Yeah. I love it.
We miss the goodness that has come,
Exactly.
And I think that's true for any time that we go into, whenever we have a thwarted expectation, anybody's listening, if you're in that place where you have had your expectation thwarted in any area of your life, then hopefully this will speak to you, and hopefully this book will give you the gift of seeing it in another way and allowing yourself to be with those feelings, to allow them to move through, and then get reconnected with your values, your goals, your truth, your mission, your vision, what it is that you are creating, and coming back to that truth.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So, Sarah, for those who are listening and feeling activated right now, and like, actually, I feel like I want to be part of this, because, there's going to be 13 spots in the book, and that's something that's become clear, the number 13.
Yes.
And a number of those have been filled already, which is amazing. But if somebody's listening and they do want to be part of it, they're feeling that call, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Okay, so the best thing to do is, I'm sure there'll be somewhere to put the link in here. So we'll pop a link down below the podcast, so that you can click on the link and register your interest. as soon as you do that, you'll get some information about what's involved, what you get as part of the process. And I've also created a Facebook group that people can talk, a Facebook group. So there will be a link as well to that. But yeah, it will take you to register onto my mailing list, and you'll get some information through about the about the collaboration. So
amazing. So like I said, if you are feeling the call, trust that, get in touch and let's see what wants to emerge. But I'm excited to see what unfolds from this point forward. And Sarah, I am so grateful to you for staying open during this process, and also being willing to have this conversation, because I think sometimes people don't want to talk about kind of the process when they're in it, when they're in the mess of it, and you were like, oh no, let's do it. So I really appreciate that.
Probably a week ago wouldn't have been the best time, and this is something, there's being in the mess of it, and there's being kind of having gone through part of it, but not having the path all crystal clear, right? So because I think there's times when you need to be in the mess and in that unfolding and being with all the stuff coming up. And a week ago I would not be having probably this conversation, right? So just to acknowledge that, yes, I am in the process of it, and I'm not in that deep doubting place, right? I've moved through that to a much more powerful place to be able to share from, and so much unknown, and I say that, but actually, is there so much unknown? Is there really? Because actually we've got a structure, but again, it's like, it's this thing of, we have a really clear structure, but there's a gorgeous woman, a mentor that I worked with for a while, who died last year, and it was her birthday on the 25th, so her birthday last week. And she always talked about having a plan and holding it lightly, so having a structure and having a plan, and of course there's a structure, and of course there's a plan, right? But then being able to dance with it, being able to hold it lightly, and so having that masculine quality and that feminine quality, having the structure and the flow, right? Having having that gorgeous balance of the two, which is just delicious, actually.
It really is, And I'm looking forward to continuing the dance and seeing where it leads us, and working with this book, because it's just, playing with this book, because it's just such a amazing process. So thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you for being here in the Unbound Writers Club today. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.